Welcome to Truth in Lending, America's coolest, hippest mortgage and real estate news podcast. Today is part 2 of Building the Future. And joining us in studio today is Regional Sales Manager for New Home Star, Oregon, and Hayden Homes, the amazing Lindsay Klaassen. No Katie today. She's still soaking up the tropical sun in Bali, but you've got Greg in the catbird seat and yours truly to get through this. Welcome to Truth in Lending, you guys.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I am so glad to have you on here. It's been a couple of years that I've been trying to strong arm you to get in here.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah. You cornered me at the right time.
Yeah. So, who is Lindsay Klaassen? Did I say your name correctly?
You did.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
So tell us who you are, what you do.
I am the Regional Sales Director for the Central Oregon with Hayden Homes and New Home Star. Just like you mentioned, I've been with them about 8 years. Couple things about me. So I'm a bad liar.
Okay.
Did you know that?
Well, we were going to play 2 truths and a lie, so that works great. We'll be able to figure out the lie very quickly.
You will.
So quick, two truths and a lie for us.
Okay, so, oh my gosh, Randy. Look at, you already know I'm lying right off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love traveling around the world with
Okay.
my husband and my 2 daughters. I actually met my husband while I was traveling through Central America. I spent about a year there after I graduated from high school. And before I worked with New Home Star and Hayden Homes, I bartended in downtown Bend for about 10 years.
Okay. Is there a lie in there somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait. So she loves traveling around the world. And I know that you're going to Thailand soon, so I think that's a truth. And I do remember that you did used to be a bartender many, many moons ago. So you did not meet your husband in Central America. Is that the lie?
That is.
Fantastic.
You are
Wow.
good.
You are good, Randy.
Fantastic.
Look at that.
On part 2 of Building the Future, we really wanted to kind of get an idea because it really seems like new construction is one of the only games in town right now as far as across the nation, not even just here in our little neck of the woods in Central Oregon, but across the nation. So, let's talk about inflation and cost to build and, how that's affected builders. And you work, even though you work for New Home Star, which I believe is a nationwide company.
Yes.
And do they specialize relationships with builders? How does that work?
Yeah, they partner with builders all across the United States. So anywhere from just like a software as a service company and a training platform, all the way to providing a high-end sales team for builders and even marketing services.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how have builders and New Home Star, and how have you been able to maintain profitability with the construction costs skyrocketing?
Yeah, so a couple different things actually. We our construction team, part of their role is to constantly be negotiating with our trade partners. And so we are actively doing that all the time. So when the market's good, they're negotiating. And when there's inflation, like we're seeing right now, they're still negotiating. And so it's a long-term mindset, and that's part of their role that they just do daily.
Right.
And then we are also constantly evaluating where our position in the market is. So we're always capturing the top market value for our homes on the sales side on a weekly basis.
Greg's going to join the podcast with us eventually.
Sorry. With that, how have construction costs been? Where are they increasing? Are they decreasing? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of balancing out. I'm seeing some of the costs go up and some go down, but they're really in some fluctuation. But at the end of the day, when we see like the overall cost of what it takes to build a home, we're seeing some balancing out. Just like we're seeing interest rates settle into where they're at, I feel like that's how building costs are really just settling in to where they are. Unfortunately, they're higher than they were a couple of years ago, right? But this is the new normal, and I think we're going to see some consistency for a little bit.
Not just a little higher. I mean, I don't mean to be the doom
Not
and gloom
just
guy.
a little higher. That was my optimism.
More than
that
double.
Yes, it's more costly, but unfortunately, I think we're all getting used to it. Yeah.
So what has been the impact of rising interest rates to you? Have you noticed things slowing down, or has it actually helped boost business?
Yeah, we have introduced some incentives
Right.
with that, where we're contributing seller paid closing costs to help either buy rates down or just help out the buyers in some way, shape, or form. They can kind of use it however they want. So that has been huge. But also, we're seeing a lot less investors and a lot more local buyers. We have not slowed down with the lack of supply, like you'd mentioned before, Randy. That new construction is mostly what's out there to buy, and so we have not seen a slowdown because of it. But we have seen our buyer type really change pretty drastically. Where we were seeing a lot of people move from out of state, now it's local, no investors, and it's been really exciting and fun to see the shift.
Good.
Yeah, it's a nice shift in buyer pool for sure.
Yeah.
Is it your first day on the podcast,
It kind
Greg?
of is, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's my first day too,
Oh, perfect.
Greg. And we're in
Great.
this together.
Fantastic.
Kate is filling in for Katie, who's not here today. Katie, Greg.
Yeah, such a high bar to
Yes.
uphold.
That's right.
I had a question regarding the buyer incentives. I feel like we were seeing a lot more towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. How has that changed? Or has that changed?
It's changed a little bit. I think we see incentives just being a consistent thing, maybe fluctuating on the dollar amount contributed, but we are going to see incentives here for a while. They absolutely work, and it really helps make a massive difference for the buyer. And Hayden Homes really gears our homes toward that first-time home buyer or just that lower price demographic is our entire mission. And so by offering that incentive, we help capture that buyer that we like to see.
Awesome. And is it mostly, are you seeing people take those credits and go towards either interest rate, or are you seeing a lot of people doing upgrades with the homes instead, or is it kind of a balance?
It's a balance. I would say in the last 60 days, we're seeing a lot more people use them towards the interest rate, which has been a really positive to see that. How big of a difference that makes,
Yeah.
right?
Awesome.
You can buy it from 12% down to 11. Sorry, I am on one today, and it's because it's a bad day in the market, and we'll get to that later in the Truth in Lending Mortgage News. But the focus is on you, not on me. And I'm not wearing my princess shirt today, so I'm going to stop acting like one. So, what's the permitting process been like through, kind of dating back to COVID, and are there hoops that you guys have had to jump through? Has the permitting process sort of slowed, or can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, one would assume that with maybe a little less building, a little less going on, that the permits would go faster through the municipalities. We're absolutely not seeing that. It's still been kind of that slow drag that we've been in even through the pandemic. I don't think it's really on average gotten any faster. Bend definitely takes the longest. And Redmond is consistently around 2 to 4 weeks, but those, it's really inconsistent. It makes it really difficult for us to predict a finish timeline for our buyers while we're in that permitting process. So, Randy, I know you're really familiar with, we offer this 2-month window of closing and then hope to hit that. And when the permits take anywhere from, they could be 30 days or they could be 5 months at the City of Bend, then it makes it difficult to predict. So, we're still seeing some pretty inconsistencies.
Right. So with the lack of inventory out there, I've also noticed that there's a lack of land inventory. So land acquisition. You guys are in multiple states. So what has it been like trying to find new buildable, developable land? Yeah,
Hayden Homes widely benefits from being so ingrained in our community here in Central Oregon. Of course, we build in Washington, Idaho, and Montana as well, and a huge focus on secondary underserved markets. So typically, there's not a lot of other builders as competition that we're seeing in these markets. And we have people on the Hayden Homes team that go out and make those connections in the community so that we create relationships, and we have people with land that come up all the time.
Right.
It has been quite a bit less, and it takes even longer to develop a piece of land now, just like I was saying about the municipalities taking even longer for all of their processing. And then they have all these new rules that they like to add in right in the middle, right? And so we are still seeing land deals come through, but just not as large of a project. So we're seeing more of like a 5 to 20 lot subdivisions instead of the 40 to 100 lots.
Gotcha.
How long do one of those projects take from land acquisition to completed? Like a 20 lot project.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
So 20 lots, if we were going to go from a raw piece of land to selling, that's probably anywhere from a year to a year and a half. I would say the actual land development part, construction, is probably only about 6 to 8 months. And then all of the signatures and all of that can take another 6 to 8 months potentially. And then selling through those 20 lots is another 6 months. So I would say about, 2.5 years to go from start to finish.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I know we've seen builder confidence come up over the last couple months.
Yeah.
So would you think that we would start to see a lot new construction coming out towards the end of this year, beginning of next year?
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of new subdivisions hit in the spring. I'm seeing a ton of land development going on all over Redmond and Bend. And so I would anticipate that those communities are going to start middle of next year.
Cool.
I mean, there's a fair amount of uncertainty in the market right now.
Yeah.
You guys are staying busy. We had another builder on the show a couple of weeks ago. They're staying busy. From what I can tell, builders are really, they're cranking right now because there's, people are having a hard time divorcing their 3% rate and putting their house on the market to go buy something new. So one of my questions for you, and I asked our last guest this, and I'm curious to see what you say, is there's a major housing shortage, not just here in the state of Oregon, but across the nation.
Yeah.
And what are builders doing nationwide? More specifically, from your experience, what are we doing to combat this problem? Can you please build homes faster?
Well, that would be the easiest solution,
Right.
But also the hardest. We are actually, we're noticing a lot in the city of Bend, and Redmond is pretty close to follow, that we're starting to do some of these cottage communities, which has been really fun and exciting. We have one that we recently completed in Redmond that was 56 homes, 1,100 square feet and smaller for the square footage. So higher density, smaller home, so a little bit quicker to build.
More affordable?
More affordable, yeah. And then we have a couple of subdivisions that we're anticipating that are coming up also that will have more of those. And then we're also seeing more townhome attached new construction coming up in the future as well, just lending to that higher density so that we can build more homes to fit that need.
I got kind of a left field question for you. So recent survey came out, at least in Central Oregon, and I feel like this is also something that is nationwide, is that the amount of cash buyers out there in Central Oregon so far year to date has been 42% of all transactions have been cash. Are you guys noticing that?
We are noticing more cash buyers, not quite in the 42%. I would say we're in the more of a 20 to 25% range. But there's two ends of the spectrum, right? So there's the people that have cash to purchase, and then there's people that can only do 3% down. And that's kind of what we're noticing. There's that in between is really, there's hardly any buyers in there.
Yeah.
Okay. This is also kind of a question out of left field.
Yeah.
Mentioning, higher density and all that. I know some communities are putting in multifamily units. Is that something that we'll see in newer developments?
In almost every single one.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of the newer developments that we're planning, the city has a lot more involvement in the planning of them also, which makes them take a little bit longer, but multifamily, townhomes, and single-family detached will be all clustered into one subdivision for several of our upcoming subdivisions is what we're going to see.
And we are by no means, innovators of this type of zoning. This is something that's been going on nationwide to help with the housing shortage and help with the lower income, middle income families.
Yeah.
Is making sure that when a new development goes up, that you've got some multifamily, maybe even some light commercial in there, to really blend these neighborhoods. And so it's nice to see that more specifically, obviously this is a podcast that goes nationwide, but the city of Redmond is, sort of a suburb to the city of Bend. It's nice to see the city of Redmond really kind of pioneering that in our area, to help out with the underserved.
I agree.
Yeah. Where is Hayden Homes? How many states are you guys in?
We started here in Redmond. So all over Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and most recently Montana. So 4 states.
Awesome.
Montana. And are you guys looking to expand into more states than that?
Right now, I don't think so. They're really particular about securing supply chains and making sure that we can offer the highest quality home for the lowest possible cost for our buyers so we can fit that buyer pool like I was mentioning earlier. And so when we expand, it's harder to keep those supply chains the way we need them. So slow expansion, but very, very intentional about it as well.
Awesome.
So do you get pretty sweet concert tickets?
I'm going to some really sweet concerts this summer. Yes. And there are a few perks to working for Hayden Homes.
Can you also answer the question that we're all dying to know? Why are concert tickets so stinking expensive these days?
Ooh, I can't answer that.
Oh, man. I wanted to get you in trouble with your employer.
We don't get to pick the price of the concert tickets at Hayden Homes. That would be interesting, though. I wonder if we could do like a concert ticket CMA, supply and demand type of thing.
Right?
Same concept, but different product.
So I'm going to see
cool.
Jason Isbell on Saturday, and when we bought our tickets a few months ago, when he announced that he was going to be here, and I love Jason Isbell in the 400 unit, stoked to go see him. And when we bought, tickets were about twice as much as they are now, which is crazy to me.
Really?
Yeah. So I went on and looked at the cost of the tickets. So I don't know if that's just because they're trying to sell the last few that they've got because it's coming up so quick. But what are some good shows that have you already seen any this year?
I haven't been to one yet. I'm guilty.
Greg, who have you seen?
I've been on a couple on the river.
Okay.
It's been really nice.
So you've been poaching.
Yes, definitely. Probably seeing Revolution.
Oh, Revolution's great. They always come through.
Always a fun show.
I'm going to see, and this dates me, I'm going to see Candlebox and Three Doors Down in August.
That would be a fun show. Oh, yeah.
It definitely dates you.
Greg's gonna be watching it from the river.
I can't wait. And I've been meaning to ask, so can we get any concert tickets?
Yeah.
I wish it was that easy. No.
Darn. Had to try.
You're welcome to try again, but
Doors open. Okay.
Doors open.
Perfect.
We could go together. It'd be super fun.
I'm there.
I'm going to Revolution also, so it'll be perfect.
Fantastic.
So, what would your advice be to a first-time home buyer that might be listening to the show that wants to buy a new construction? Maybe not necessarily a Hayden Homes, but something in new construction. What would your advice be
for shopping for new construction as a first-time home buyer?
Yeah.
There is no substitute for just going into the model and talking to somebody. There's so much information on all builder websites, some better than others, of course, but they're so interactive nowadays. There's so much information, but there is absolutely no substitute for just walking in and talking to somebody. And I think we're afraid of that after the last few years, but that is absolutely the best way to start. We always think we know what we want when we're shopping online, and then when you order something online and it shows up in the mail and you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Same thing with buying a house. So if you just show up and walk into the model home and you can touch it and you can see things in person versus looking at it on a screen, it's absolutely the best way to start.
Random fact about me, because the show is clearly all about me. My first home was a Hayden home.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, my first home purchase was a Hayden home.
What year was that, Randy, since we're dating you today?
2016.
Wow.
Yeah. 2016. I was a very, very late bloomer when I bought my first house.
Wow.
It doesn't date him very much.
It doesn't.
It doesn't date me very much.
I love that fun fact.
Well, thanks for joining us. So we appreciate the Q&A. Will you stick around for the news?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh,
Greg,
I like that.
we've got some headlines.
All right. Home prices post first annual decline since 2012. Wait, what?
What?
That's
A
right.
decline?
That's right.
Okay. Where?
Everywhere.
Okay. Wow. 0.2% decrease. The National Association of Home Builders, Ion Housing, reports that bank failures have had some effect on builders when it comes to land acquisition, development, and speculative single-family construction. Some 3 in 5 builders are finding it more difficult to obtain as a result of the financial stresses with the recent bank failures. What say you, Lindsay? Millions in the UK are on the brink of insolvency as a large number of mortgages across the pond are adjustable rate, tied to the nation's benchmark rate, which continues to rise.
What's the ECB?
Oh, go ahead. Well, go ahead and read it
okay.
as if you know what you're talking about, and then I'll instruct you.
The ECB is likely to raise rates in July.
European Central Bank.
Oh.
So the whole state of Europe.
That's a large state.
It's a continent. So the European Central Bank basically controls rates for the entire nation. So, with Great Britain having done Brexit, they sort of their bank controls their own, and they just came out, raised things, shocked the world by raising things 0.5 point. And now the Fed's likelihood of raising things by another 0.25% in July has now gone up to 90%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So much for that hawkish pause. Huh?
Yeah.
So, the hawkish pause we talked about before is we're not going to raise rates, but we're going to wait and see. We're going to delay the pain. But ultimately, I feel like more pain is coming.
Yeah.
So that
feels like it.
the good news that I have.
Great. A little different than the happy hour.
Yeah.
Housing News reports new home sales hit a 15-month high as prices dipped nationwide.
Yeah. How crazy is that? A 15-month high of new home sales across the nation, yet prices went down 0.2%.
Interesting.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The average rate as we record this show today, likely to go up by the time you listen to this, but 6.92%, relatively unchanged from our last episode a couple of weeks ago. FHA, you can still get there right around 6.5, 6 5/8. Same with VA rates. It is what it is, but I'll tell you this. I met with some clients this week, and they said the same thing that so many people have already said. I'm going to wait until rates come down.
Mm-hmm.
When you wait until rates come down, then there's more competition and prices go up as a result.
Yep.
So if you're sitting on the fence, buy a home when you can afford a home. Don't get stuck on the rate. Payment is obviously important, right? Don't get stuck on the rate. Thanks for joining us today, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.
You were fabulous.
Thank you.
Katie, we miss you. Come back soon. This has been Truth in Lending. This has been great. No errors to report from our last show. If you want to message us, go to Instagram. We're at Truth in Lending Podcast. Other than that, we'll see you next week, Potato Heads. Nice jogging suit.
Thank you. Your top half looks great.
I'm going to wear my princess shirt next week.